Hello everyone. So today we are going to read our next prose, The Address, which is written by Marga Minco, and it is from the book Snapshots, and it is having the autobiographical elements. But before going into the prose, let me discuss the important points to understand the theme and the storyline. War, Germany versus Holland, and it was the time of World War II when Germany captured or invaded most of the places of Holland by Hitler. Right? Second, Jewish family concentration camp, and these families were sent by Hitler to concentration camps because he wanted to torture these families. And because of this fear, most of the family members or these people, they are just leaving their house or these particular areas in order to save their life, and they were just escaping. Right? Third, a lady returns after the Holocaust to collect something. Now, this prose is about this lady who is returning to her place in order to collect something that belonged to her or her family as informed by her mother. Right? Now, this prose is also having the theme of betrayal, disturbing past, and whether the address is fruitful or not. Right? Now, who are the important characters of this story? Mainly three characters are there: Mrs. S, her daughter, and Mrs. Darling. These three characters are there, right? So, let us go into the plot. Now, this daughter, this lady is returning and she is going to Mrs. Darling's house, right? Do you still know me? This was the line which was uttered by the daughter to whom? To Mrs. Darling. Mrs. Darling is opening the door. She was wearing the sweater which actually belonged to her mother. To her mother means to the daughter's mother, means to Mrs. S. And what she is saying? Have you come back? That means people who are going to concentration camp, they never came back. But this daughter is ultimately returning. So she is shocked. How can she come back? But she is saying that I don't have the time to talk with you, and she closed the door in front of this daughter. Right? So this was the first meeting with Mrs. Darling after so many years. Clear? Now she is going to station, and she is thinking that this was the same address that my mother gave to me, and she is also thinking about the past time. What happened exactly? This was the part. Listen to me. Now she is going to station and she is thinking, and what she is thinking? That my mother once informed me that Mrs. Darling is taking our things. Why? Because if we are to move to the concentration camp or to somewhere else, she will take care of our things. That is why she is taking everything. She is taking most of the things in suitcase. Okay. And when this information was given to the daughter by Mrs. S, by the mother, the narrator was not happy, and she was thinking all these past things, and she is now moving to the station, and when she is thinking about all these things, she ultimately reached the station, and she saw again Mrs. Darling, and she is again thinking that about the address, that this was the same address that my mother had given to me. What was the address? Marconi Street, number 46. This was the address. And the daughter is also thinking that I do not want to visit the places because they are having some memories which is very disturbing. I do not want to go back to the streets. I do not want to go back to the places because they are very disturbing past. Right? But again, she thought that I will pay a second visit to the house, to the same address, Marconi Street, number 46. So she visited again the second time, and this time Mrs. Dorling was not there. Who opened the door? Mrs. Dorling's daughter. She invited the lady and she said that please come and have a cup of tea with me and wait for my mother. So this lady ultimately entered into the house and observing everything, the internal details, everything. Internal details means the same things that belong to her family, she can see it is in the same address, it is in the same house of Mrs. Dorling. The things that belong to our family, everything she can see right now in the house of Mrs. Dorling. So the daughter ultimately offered the tea. Now when they were talking, she noticed the same tablecloth, the box, the spoons, everything, and she recognized that these are all the things that belong to me, to my family, to my mom. And when she was thinking all these things, she was not feeling comfortable, feels uneasy. The daughter, means this lady, is feeling uneasy. Why? Because these are all disturbing past, disturbing memories. She left the house by saying that I will miss my train, so I am going to leave. Now the daughter is asking, so you will not meet my mother? And she said that no, somewhere or another day I will come. And she is leaving the house. And when she was leaving the house and she is again going to the station and she is thinking that this was the address that her mother gave to her, but now she wanted to forget this address forever, because this address is not at all fruitful, because this lady, Mrs. Dorling, ultimately betrayed her mother by saying that she don't have enough time to talk with me. So she betrayed the family, means Mrs. Dorling betrayed Mrs. S, and she is not accepting the fact, or she is not in the mood to return all the things that belong to the daughter, that belong to Mrs. S. So this is why the story is having the theme of a betrayal. Now the daughter ultimately is not willing to go back to the same places, to the same things. That is why it is having the disturbing past. She do not want to visit again the place, right? That is why it is written here, the address is fruitful or not? No, the address was not at all fruitful, because she went to the address and she got something that is completely different. The things belong to her, but she is not in a mood to get back those things, because these things are giving her the memories of their disturbing past, right? That is why she is leaving the house and the story ends over here. So the address that appears to her as a good one ultimately turns into a negative impact. That is why she is saying that I want to forget this address forever. And what was the address? Marconi Street, number 46. Right? Thank you.